And we're live.
hmm
Hello, my name is Mike Koziol, and this is 100K Playbook podcast, and a podcast that's meant to help freelancers, consultants, fractionals, and all the subject matter experts to build and grow their businesses. And today with me, I have Robyn, who's kind of willing to start her consulting business soon, and she has some questions about how to go about that. Hello, Robyn. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Mike. Thank you for having me.
You got it. Robyn, so if you can give me a quick overview of what's going on, who you are, what you're thinking about building, and yeah, let's see what we can build together in the next 45-ish minutes.
Sure. Okay. So I've been freelancing marketing services for almost 11 years. And in the last two of those years, I have been making a very slow, gradual pivot away from marketing services to ClickUp
Hmm.
consulting, ClickUp education. It essentially started with a system that I built for myself to manage my own clients and my time and just like my entire business end to end. And then I was like, wow, this is really, really helpful. Like it completely changed me as a person. I was showing up for myself and my work in a completely different way. And I was like, this is the thing I've been wanting to do. I've been wanting to create courses. I've been wanting to get into this other space of creativity for myself. And this felt like the thing that I should be sharing because it just continued to help me every single day. So, since I think April of this year, I have been 100% focused on this new business. My two client agreements ended at the same time, which I'm a big believer in, signs from the universe. Like, I don't think that
Sure.
happened by coincidence. It was a push to just finally be like, hey, do it. And so that's what I've just been focusing on 100% since April. And so at this point, I have two courses and they're both related to one another. So I'm trying to build an ascension model basically, and keep people in my realm or like continue to help them. So if I take a step back, I did actually launch a course previous to when I went full time into this business, and I had some good feedback from it, but it was basically a really big course. And what I learned from working with the people who took it was that they would naturally gravitate towards one part of it. And that's really
Hmm.
all they took from it anyway. So I thought, okay,
Nice.
this makes sense for me to break it up into multiple courses. And then they just take what they need and move up when they're ready.
Hmm.
So at this point, I have two of those three ready to go. And so now I'm just in this place where I'm trying to take what I have, which I have an email list. It's very small at this point, but that is humble beginnings. It's been growing slowly but steadily, and the people who are there very intentionally. So I have a weekly newsletter, I have a YouTube channel, and I have subscribers there. I'm on LinkedIn. I have like some followers there. So at this point, I just launched a live version of the latest course that I came out with because I launched the self-guided version, self-paced rather, and the people who took it, two of them were like, yes, immediately, this is helping me. The other person kind of got to about 40% and then dropped off. So I thought, okay, interesting. Maybe there are people out there who would benefit from more of a live
Right.
model, some support, somebody to hold their hand and continue to go through the system with them, the process with them. And so that's what I've been launching for the last like 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. And that's starting actually next week. So that's been another process of learning and, not quite turned out the way that I wanted it to, but I'm not discouraged. I'm just
Mm.
thinking about what my next move should really be.
Right. What is your goal?
My goal, my big goal.
Yes,
Like,
big, hairy, audacious. Yes.
you know what? I don't even know that I know exactly what that goal is. I just would
Mm.
love to have like the people that I've connected with so far are my people. They're like,
Hmm.
I'm a big organizational nerd. I love ClickUp. I love talking about ClickUp. I love working with people and their businesses. And so my goal would really to be to build a community of people who are like that, who
Hmm.
are eager to be there and want to learn and grow community. But obviously, I would also love financial
Yeah,
freedom.
money helps.
Money helps, yes. So,
So, okay, cool. So already quite a few elements to kind of discuss, but when you say you would like to grow a community, it sounds like you want to grow a community of people who are using ClickUp or like nerds, like you call yourself. So would that be for other people who are, ClickUp nerds, or is it for other people who would benefit from having ClickUp implemented in their businesses?
yeah, more people who are benefiting from it because they may not even know about it at all. But and there might be even some resistance to it at first because I've
Yeah.
seen that. But then the when you're on the other side of it, it's like, wow, how did I ever live without this?
Right.
I like giving that transformation to people.
So, okay. Um, so let's kind of rewind a little bit when it comes to the courses first. I'm not surprised that the big course became a little bit maybe too big for a bunch or some of the users or members, because what happens very often as consultants and experts, what we tend to do, we want to give as much as we have. We want to kind of give everything, and we want to help them because we feel like, oh my gosh, this is something that everyone needs to know. This thing, like, this is amazing. Like, when you click here, this happens, and when you do that, that happens. But what happens at the same time, we're overwhelming our audience, and so there is just too much to kind of chew, and so and we're, by giving too much, we're actually making a disservice to our community, because they're just like, this is above my head, I can't do this anymore, and it's overwhelming, right? So that's number one. So very often what happens is that when we're building programs like this, we always think about what are the three essential steps. So for example, if my clients, my audience is here and this is their goal, what are the three main things they have to go through so that they can reach that goal? What is the shortest path to get there? Not the widest, not the the coolest, not the sexiest. No, what is the shortest path for them to go from here to here? And so you give them only that, as much as they need, and nothing more and nothing less. What is important? Nothing more, right? Because if you give them nothing more, you do that from the goodness of your heart, if you will, because you're like, I'm going to over deliver. I'm going to also do this and that for them, but it actually backfires, right? So that's, kind of important piece number one. Number two, statistically, 95% of people who buy courses do not even log in. So,
95?
95% of people do not log in.
Oh, wow. I knew it was a thing, but I certainly didn't think it was
Yes,
that much of a thing.
yes, it's insanely high.
Yeah.
One of the reasons, and I was chatting about this today with someone else. One of the reasons this is happening is that if you think about, like, every business exists to solve a problem, right? Airbnb solves a problem, restaurant solves a problem, airlines solve a problem. You solve a problem as well, right? And if you think about this through this perspective, I use this analogy, like, let's say you need to buy new shoes, okay? Like, your old shoes are like broken, whatever, and you need to go buy new shoes. You go to the store, you get new Nikes, whatever. I'm not affiliated with Nikes, but you go get new Nikes, right? You get new Nikes, and you had a problem, you bought Nikes, problem solved. But with courses, what happens is that you have a problem, Robyn solves the problem with the course, someone buys the course, and they think automatically, it connects with their head, my problem is solved.
Right.
But what happens actually is that they don't have the solution. They bought access to the solution.
Right.
Now the work kicks
Yeah.
in. Now this is where it's like buying a membership to a gym.
Yes.
This is like, I got the membership, but that doesn't mean I'm losing fat or getting
No.
stronger. You have to show up and do the reps. And so that is the tricky point, where we have to make sure that our students are showing up. And so when you add this live component, looking at my notes now, when you're adding this live component that is actually pushing your members to be there and show up, you create accountability mechanism, if you will. And then another interesting point here is that what is the price point of your program?
The live one I priced at $249, and then the self-paced I just increased to $197 from $149.
So it's 10 less. You have to add 10 to it. I'm serious about this, and I'll tell you two things. So One, it's a very common psychological phenomenon that we perceive the value through the price. That's number one. Number two, when people invest, they are invested. When you invest $200 and you don't do anything, like, whatever, screw
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
When you invest $2,500, like, shit. Like, I actually have a client, so my programs are a little bit more expensive. I have a client, we had a call the other day, the one-on-one that I do. So every 6 weeks, so it's a group program. Every 6 weeks, we get on a call on one-on-one, like a one-on-one strategy, kind of like check in with every single member. And he was like, I feel like, because I see his progress, I'm like, hey, what's going on? Because you're not showing up. And I'm willing to actually fire a client if they're not showing up in the program. And he's like, yeah, I know. I've been, slacking this and that, family, yada, yada, yada. He's like, but it's all excuses. But then when I logged into my account, he says, and I checked my credit card and I see that there was, $9,000 something that I spent. I'm like, fuck, if I don't show up,
Yeah.
then I'm losing this money. And so if anything, it's the money that gives them invested in their own growth. And so the more, so you have to kind of push them a little bit, right? And there's another, so there's two kind of sides of that coin, right? Another side, there's no three sides of the coin, but another angle is obviously from a cash flow perspective. It's easier, it's better to have to make 2.5K versus $250.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if you think about how many times you would have to convince someone to buy from you to make $2,500 at $249, that means you have to convince 10 people. Whereas, so it's actually more difficult to convince 10 people to buy from you at $249 than it is to convince one person to buy at $2,500. And trust me on that, and there's proof to it in the sales data.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm telling you, like, add another zero and focus on repositioning, repackaging yourself and your brand, and maybe repackaging how you deliver the work. And then you can work with 2 clients making $5,000 versus 20. Just imagine closing 20 clients.
Yeah.
It's so much more work, right? So is that making sense? Any questions on that?
No, that makes perfectly logical sense because, even though in the freelancing industry as a whole, like on LinkedIn, I'm seeing people, you're probably seeing it too, who are kind of feeling like things are slowing down. They're having a harder time getting work.
Sure.
So, you can't help but feel a little empathetic to that. So the pricing is reflective of what I believe the industry is sort of feeling in this moment, but that also doesn't mean that everybody is having those issues, right? The people who are like having the most success in their business need this more than anybody else, more than the person who's struggling to get clients, for sure, because they need that space to grow. So
Yeah.
it does make sense. Now, personally, I think there is some money work to be done there because I will say I feel discomfort with that idea.
Yeah, I mean, we can unpack this if you want, but I will tell you this, Robyn, 95% of my clients who start working with me, we start the work with asking, like, I'm always asking the same question, like, what is your goal? And then we kind of unpack this. It's very important for you to have a monetary goal,
Right.
tangible monetary numbers goal, as well as experience goal. Like, what do I want to do? Do I want to, I have clients who are like 25 years old, hungry. They make $150,000 per month because they work 80 hours per week because they're single and they don't, and that's what they want, But I also have busy single moms with 2 kids, 2 dogs, and they don't want to work 80 hours per week. So we have to kind of combine 2 angles. Like, this is the amount of money I want to be making. This is what I have and available in terms of my time, but also this is the experience I want to have. And then we can see if there's a match or there's a way to do it, right?
Yeah.
So I ask my clients always about about the goal because that's the important piece. But 95% of the time, I tell them you have to increase the price. And then we, as an industry of experts, massively undercharge, especially when we put that label of a freelancer on it. Like, I'm just gonna freelance. This. Well, as soon as you become more professionalized freelancer and you start looking at yourself as I'm running a consulting business. I consult on ClickUp. I consult on increasing efficiency of the business. I'm not freelancing on a ClickUp setup. I'm increasing efficiency, productivity of your team.
Right.
That changes everything. Your positioning changes everything, and then all of a sudden you feel a little bit different as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm bullish on this to a point where I told one of my clients, I was 2 years ago, where he's like, well, I'm not going to increase the price because everyone's going to leave. And I said, listen, if people leave, sure, that's going to happen. People will leave, your clients. But if you lose money next month on that increase, as in like everyone leaves and you're like, making less money, I'm going to give you all the money back. And I gave him that on writing. I said, I'm so confident this will happen. So out of, I don't remember, 17 or 18 people that he had on as clients, two left. The other ones, we increased the price 20, 30, 50%. And so he started making more money immediately, month over month.
Yeah.
So, and price is just a number. If you go to a cafe and it shows $5.99, for a croissant, and then all of a sudden they wipe, the chalk and put $6.99, like, okay. Price is just a number. It's just a matter of positioning this as something that's valuable, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So definitely look at the price.
Yes.
Now, on the front of positioning, I think it's important as well. Like, because you mentioned something about education. Like, as soon as people understand the value of ClickUp, as soon as they educated on it, they're like, oh, how could I have lived without it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So education is the most difficult and the most expensive part of marketing, because you have to educate people about the fact that what you do is important and what you have they should buy, blah blah blah. It takes time. And then as soon as they educated, they might go to your competitors and buy from them, which sucks, obviously, right? So education is the most expensive part of marketing and the longest one as well. So what is important is, again, that you position yourself in a way that you solve a wake up in the morning problem. What I mean by that, or the neck bleeding problem. What I mean by that is, like, they wake up in the morning and they go like, shit, why I need to fix this? And so if you show up with saying, let's say, so let me back up and ask you a question. What kind of businesses do you work with? Like, is there a specific business type of, like, agencies or?
No, not agencies. Definitely not. Freelancers. I thought for a second solopreneurs, but no, freelancers is a very specific type of person in that they are usually working on their own, they're managing clients. It doesn't really matter what their service is. The core requirements that they need are the same. So it's just freelancers. However, I have been playing with the idea of being more specific because I obviously am a marketing freelancer.
Yeah.
So perhaps that could be a more specific route
Yeah.
to go.
Okay. So 100% you need to focus and niche down. No question about that. So no question about pricing. That's number one. Number two, you have to focus and niche down. You cannot be working. I'm helping freelancers with ClickUp. That tells me nothing. And there's a bunch of different other people you can Google ClickUp setups. You can go to ClickUp, I don't know, knowledge base and find and try to, do it yourself, all that stuff, right? But if you focus on a niche, that's why I'm asking, like, is it agencies? Like, what is it exactly that you do? Then it's way easier to position yourself. And then you can understand what is that wake up in the morning problem. So for example, for agencies, they wake up in the morning and they go like, oh my God, another onboarding session, another onboarding that's going to take us 4 to 6 weeks. And I used to run pre-marketing agencies. I know that's a massive problem. And in any agency that, if they honestly look in the mirror, in their kind of P&L, they'll realize in the onboarding phase, they're not making any money. So if you come in there strong and say, hey, I'm actually helping you onboard new clients and have all the kickoff meetings, blah, 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 blah. And we decrease the number of weeks that are needed for this from 4 to 2, all of a sudden you increase the profitability 2x.
Right.
So they wake up in the morning, you know exactly who you work with, you know exactly what's the wake up in the morning problem, and you fix that problem. Again, every business exists to solve a problem. You have to solve a very specific problem for a very specific audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is the shortest path to our beloved $83,000 per month, which is $1 million a year. Being focused on one channel, one avatar, one challenge, one problem, and one solution in a very timely manner. So when you build your program, it's very important to think, okay, I'm working, again, as an example, with agencies, I'm fixing this challenge. My program is 3 months, and in those 3 months, we're going to do this and achieve this, and it's going to cost you this amount of money. So it's very tangible, it's a productized approach to things as well. I'm sure you know, as a freelancer, scope creep happens. Yeah, I'm like, can you also do this? Can we also do that? Can you also do that? Blah 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 blah. And I've never seen anyone who likes scope creep. So, right, it's laughable. But when you have a product that is closed, we only do this in 3 months in this way, and it costs you this amount of money, and this is the goal. So this is the outcome. There's no scope creep. Can you also do this? Sure, I'm happy to scope this and quote it for you, because it's outside of the scope. You bought this thing, if now you want something else. Is that making sense?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's literally what my training teaches freelancers how to manage, because that's part of... So I hear what you're saying, I guess, around the niching. And now, in my mind, I'm curious, because I think freelancers are specific in the sense that they have the same challenges. It really doesn't matter what kind of freelancer you are. Like, I think obviously when we get down to like the workflow aspect, and like you're talking about like very specific, like if I'm because if I wanted to say I'm a marketing, or I only deal with marketing freelancers, like you create content. So you need a process for creating content, and I can help with that. But the foundational training that I've built, which is called Focus Framework, is designed to it isn't really to do with the specific service delivery avenue, like how you actually execute on your services. It's more about managing your time, your focus, and your client scope. Because those are the three things that I've realized that freelancers as a whole don't really have good systems for. They have systems for managing workflows. They have their spreadsheets. Maybe they built something in ClickUp, but they still feel out of control. And so this is kind of that like missing piece that can really help any freelancer. So I'm hesitant, I guess is all I'm saying, hesitant to be so specific to say only marketing freelancers, because it doesn't really matter.
Right. So when it comes to niching down, this niche is kind of a intersection of two, when you think about Venn diagram, of two areas. One is the industry, right? So in your case, that's freelancing. Sure. The other one is the challenge or the problem that you're fixing. So in the middle and at the intersection of those two circles, that is your niche. I help who solve what, right? Or achieve what. And so if you go broad on both, that's too broad. You have to go as narrow as possible on both. But here's the thing. Sometimes you can go too narrow, and it's very rarely, but you don't want to go too narrow. But it's very rare. But it's okay to go broad on the industry and then very narrow on the challenge, or the other way around. So for example, you can go broad. I'm like, I work with small and medium businesses, SMBs, and I help them with, setting up QuickBooks.
Yeah.
That's pretty narrow. But also you can go the other way around. You can say, I work with dentists in this city, I help them with 360 marketing.
Yeah.
That's so small industry, small kind of audience, but big challenge I'm fixing. So from that perspective, the question I guess for you is that, am I kind of, broad on both? And should I maybe niche down a little bit more on it? I mean, I feel like that now that you have explained this a little bit more, that, it's ClickUp for freelancers, so that they, have a better time management and whatever, right? That makes sense. The only problem that I have with freelancers is that they often don't have the budget.
Yes. Well, that's one thing that I didn't mention, which is that I think that my market is actually senior level freelancers, which perhaps it's like amount of years that you've been doing it. I'm not really sure what the actual language would be. I've said senior freelancers, but I don't know if that actually translates clearly to anyone. But yeah, it's not like, oh, I've just started. I'm like a year into this. I'm still figuring out what services I offer. It's like, no, I have a full client load. Like, I got my shit together. I know what I'm doing, so I shouldn't feel so out of control anymore. I should be beyond this, essentially.
But I'm still drowning.
but I'm still here and I don't want to be anymore.
Right. So it sounds to me like, okay, I get that, and I think that's a good angle. What so I would find different ways maybe of how they call themselves, because maybe they
Yeah,
no longer call themselves a freelancer,
exactly.
maybe they're experts, consultants,
Sure.
fractional, whatever. So play with that a little bit.
Hmm.
But also think about, instead of saying I'm gonna help you, I don't know what your position is right now, but instead of saying I'm gonna help you set up ClickUp, like take an angle of like what is the solution that I'm actually giving you. I'm giving you more time, I'm giving you the
Hmm.
operational
Yeah.
system like
Yeah.
freelancer os, something like that. And then ClickUp is a vehicle, a tool
Hmm.
that we use to achieve that.
Yes.
But it is not the ClickUp. The ClickUp is not the clue. ClickUp is just a way to get there.
Yeah.
You are building the operating systems for them so that XYZ. You know what? So, and then it has to tie back to like a freelancer. A freelancer walks into the bar. No, a freelancer wakes up in the morning and like, what is on their mind? Oh
Hmm.
my God, I'm drowning in
Yeah.
tasks.
Yeah.
I don't know what else. Like
Yeah.
it's gonna be a long day. I have so many calls.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever those are. And so then see how your product, your solution, your productized consulting, how that solves that problem.
Hmm.
But then don't necessarily, I wouldn't lead with ClickUp, because there's my understand or my kind of perspective on it. Nobody wakes up in the morning if they haven't been using ClickUp and they are using Google Sheets and whatever. Maybe they don't necessarily look for a ClickUp solution.
Hmm.
Maybe they look for a broader solution, like, oh my gosh, shit, I wish I wasn't drowning like this. I wish they were paying me better. I wish time
Hmm.
tracking was easier. I wish reporting was easier,
Hmm.
whatever, right? And then ClickUp is just a way to do it,
Hmm.
right? I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, you're in the space longer, and that is
Yeah.
your jam, but I don't know if they're waking up and like, hey, let me set up ClickUp.
Well, I think I hear what you're saying for sure, but I do think that there is a certain amount of buzz about ClickUp
Hmm.
that makes it more alluring for people who
Okay.
maybe they haven't experienced it. They're like, why is everybody talking
Talking
about this?
about ClickUp.
Cool.
ClickUp, yeah.
So like that to me feels like almost a bit of an
Riding
advantage.
the wave.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sure, leverage that. If you feel that's the case,
Yeah.
100%, ClickUp made easy, ClickUp for dummies,
Mhm.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So definitely, but also I would play with an angle of a
Hmm.
broader picture, like, because when you mentioned you want to create a community as well. And so when you create a community around fixing the bigger problem, that is a stronger community versus a community just around
Sure.
a tool, right? And
Mhm.
and also if you build a community around freelancing OS or whatever you call it, you can introduce different tools to it as well and expand the
Right.
library and modules, versus if you just talk about ClickUp and this is a ClickUp community, it's just
Hmm.
whatever ClickUp does and bug fixes and updates and whatever.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if ClickUp still does this, but they used to have a lot of updates, like every, yeah, like, yeah, I don't know if they do
Any
it.
any complaint I've seen about ClickUp, I have not experienced it. So I don't but
Mm.
I think people are doing some pretty extensive setups, like
Yeah,
automations that are going
yeah,
like through Zapier and stuff, like
sure.
connecting with other tools. Sure, I'm sure then you're seeing some lags and whatever and bugs, but like if you just use it for its most basic
Like a normal
strength,
human being.
sure, yeah. Like, you don't need to have everything be done automatically for you, or your business is just simpler, which is
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that's the direction I want to go. And
yeah.
I'll stand on my soapbox forever and tell freelancers like you want fewer clients and do more for them because that is far more fulfilling than having like 50 clients that you're like, "Oh my God, I have so many different things I need to be switching between all the time." Like that's just so draining.
It's draining, and also it costs 5 to 25 times more to land a new client than increase the lifetime value of an existing one.
I
So if
believe
that
that.
doesn't, change your mind about which option is better, then I
Hmm.
don't know what can. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have a client, just expand your footprint with that client,
Yeah.
work with them longer, versus focusing on getting a new client. 100%.
Hmm.
Um, all
Absolutely.
right, all right. Any questions that I haven't touched on or answered?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think this is good insight to play with these ideas. You're not the first person to tell me that I shouldn't maybe highlight ClickUp as
Mhm.
the main feature. Again, though, I have a bit of a hard time reversing from that simply because the framework that I've set up, it only works in ClickUp because all of the other tools on the market don't have this capability. I
Yeah.
mean, I'll be fair to say that I haven't used any of these tools in time, and they're always developing and changing. So, but at the time, using things like Asana and Teamwork and Notion, like they were limited and they couldn't do what ClickUp can do. So, foundationally, yes, there are some things that you would learn from me and just from being in my world about
Mhm.
how to be more efficient operationally. But ClickUp is like it's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of the whole thing.
I get it. And that's still valid. That's absolutely valid. The same way I have my methodology, my frameworks of scaling, consultants to 100K months. But I'm not leading with that methodology. I'm not saying, oh,
Right.
sign up, to get the 3P methodology, because that
Right.
doesn't matter. It's a vehicle. It's a tool to get there.
I
So what
see.
I'm saying is that you can still use ClickUp as a way to achieve those things.
Hmm.
But what I'm saying is just your positioning is around
Yeah.
fixing, and not fixing the problem and not leading with
Hmm.
ClickUp.
Hmm. Yeah.
As with anything in marketing, you have to test and see which
Yeah.
one sticks better. And also, there's going to be a time where ClickUp kind of has more of a bite because there's a lot of buzz around ClickUp,
Yeah.
and there's going to be times where that goes away, and you need to talk about people are tired and whatever, and
Hmm.
economy is low, yeah, yeah, whatever. You can change those angles and positioning as well with time, right?
Hmm.
I would just say like more like strategically looking, it's just pay attention to the wake up in the morning problem and then
Yeah.
address that problem, and then
Hmm.
use ClickUp of like, okay, you want to address this, you want to fix that, cool, we're going to do that with ClickUp.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
with ClickUp. The other thing as well, when it comes to leading with a specific approach or tool, and I'll tell you this from directly from my analysis of my business, is when I was leading. So I have a few programs. One of them is how to get leads and how to close on LinkedIn. And when I was leading with LinkedIn, I would tell people, hey, I'm going to help you with LinkedIn. That's back in the day. They would go like, oh, I tried LinkedIn, it doesn't work.
Hmm.
Okay, so I was like, oh well, now I have to explain and educate. Well, you probably did this wrong, and
Yeah.
and then that's when you tell someone that they did something wrong, you kind of like they don't like you at this point, right? Because like, I didn't do anything wrong, Mike. And then they had three agencies and they didn't work well. So now you're telling me I did it wrong and that three other agencies. I'm trying to tell you this, but I can't, right? But so people who have a certain understanding already, or their point of view on the tool, they
Right.
already have an opinion. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing this. That doesn't work. A friend of mine did that, and it doesn't work. But if you bring in a different angle, and instead of saying I'm gonna do this I'm gonna give you leads on LinkedIn, when I changed it and I said, hey, I'm gonna help you get 5 warm leads a week, like, oh, okay, I want that. And then
Right.
as we go and as they get excited, they're like, how do we do that? I'm like, well, we're gonna use LinkedIn for that. But
Yes.
LinkedIn doesn't work. But we just had a conversation about what the results are, what the methodology, what they are, so that works in that sense too. So that's a little bit like, I'm not saying that's happening with ClickUp, but this is a risk when you
Yeah.
kind of lead with, oh, I watched this YouTube comparison of Rike versus ClickUp or whatever, and someone says Rike is way better. I'm not going to buy a course from you.
Yeah.
And then you lost because like they made their mind already about ClickUp, even though perhaps ClickUp is a better option for them.
That's so
But
true.
if you lead with the big picture, you can still have a conversation because they were watching that video on YouTube to
Yeah.
understand how to fix that problem, and you bring the solution for them.
Right. Okay, so one point that I would say in terms of coming back to the niching
Sure.
conversation, there are a lot of people who are using ClickUp and they admit that they're not using it well. So
Hmm.
perhaps that's where the niche Venn diagram comes together somewhere where they are people who are already using it, but they're so I almost feel like that'd be an easier sell to those people. And that's sort of who I've been talking to,
Hmm.
even in the way I structure the course, because it literally takes them through how to restructure what they already have
Right.
because it's a mess and it's so easy to make it a mess, just like Notion. Like if you don't really understand the hierarchy and the logic, like you can just
Yeah.
let it take you away, and then it becomes a source of overwhelm instead of the solution. So what are your thoughts on that approach of niching?
Of like, I'm helping those who fucked up their ClickUp setups.
Well, it's just like, I guess the messaging is directly to people who are very clearly already using ClickUp.
Right. Um, sure. I mean, it's very tangible, very practical, very down to earth. You're capturing a very specific audience that has an experience with ClickUp. They
Mm-hmm.
understand the value. I'm just thinking out loud, right?
Mm-hmm.
They understand the value of ClickUp itself. You don't have to convince them why
Yeah.
ClickUp and not some other solution. Um, sure. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. So kind of an angle positioning would be in, um, you using ClickUp, but you created a mess
Yeah.
instead of a solution. Like you
Yeah.
said, it's just like it's not solving a problem, it's giving me more overwhelm. Um, the only kind of, what's a disconnect for me here is that I feel like you might be again attracting the crowd. So if you think about your audience, every audience has multiple levels of sophistication and advancement, if you will, how advanced they are in their work. Like you have the junior freelancers and then you have the senior advanced ones, right? Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like you might be tapping. So there's four different stages, right? So you have the beginners, you have the startups, the beginners, the people who are like in slowly, like the scale ups and completely advanced. And I feel like a little bit with that messaging around like, oh, you've been using ClickUp wrong, you're gonna hit the bottom two
Right.
levels,
Right.
which are not, those two levels are really difficult to work with,
Right.
um, because they're just not, they don't have much traction. They're very troubled. They don't have money.
Yes.
And it's easy to win with winners. So I know while we, as people who are helping others, we want to help the whole world and then some.
Yeah.
So we have a tendency to go after like the smaller players. I'm like, I'm gonna help you because that's the help I wanted and I needed when I was in your shoes.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with that is really hard to win with those people, and it's
Yeah.
hard to win from a P&L perspective and
Sure.
make good money
Yeah.
on it.
That makes
So
sense.
that
Yeah.
is my kind of issue, if you will, with
Mm-hmm.
that positioning. If you were targeting agencies, for example, marketing agencies who are notorious for misusing ClickUp, I know because I was running three of them and it was a shit show and we had like three different consultants. And if you were targeting agencies making 50K per month and targeting their challenges, they make 50K per month and they can pay you
Right.
$2,500 to help them set up and train their team, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
the only kind of
Yeah.
angle. Like I what I like to do in my business and when I work with clients, like find a way of doing the same thing I'm doing in an easier way and working with the clients and the segment of the audience that's already winning. It is not spending the last $250 with me, because if that's what happens, they're gonna want world from you in
Yeah.
exchange for $250. And you know what happens when that happens is that you start building resentment towards them as well, because you're like, hold on a minute, you pay me $250 and you
Yeah.
expect from me and this and this and that and that and also that, and also you message me on WhatsApp on my private number. How did you get this number, by the way? Right? And so all these things happen, and so you build resentment, and then and when that happens, you build the burnout as well towards your business.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you work with clients who are willing to pay 2.5K to set up ClickUp for them, and they're like, yeah, here's the money, please let me know when it's done,
Mm-hmm.
it's way easier to work with them.
For sure.
So that would be my only
Yeah.
reservation when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to going with that positioning of like, oh, you've been using Click, you know, yeah, that's my kind of like gut feeling of like where that might lead. Again, as with anything with marketing and business, we have to try and see what happens and who kind of what you will attract and who you will attract.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like my gut feeling what might happen with it.
No, I like that. That makes logical sense. Yeah. Okay. I like that. Yeah, and I guess the last piece is just around I mean, a conversation around like realistically how long it takes to build trust and grow an audience. Because, you know, like even during this launch, for example, like I created Focus Framework, the
Hmm.
actual course. I think I finished creating it in May, let's say.
Yeah.
And it's taken me up until now to actually find the right words to describe what it even is. And I don't know if that's because I created it for myself, just like without even really realizing I was creating it just to help myself to figure out to reverse engineer what it was doing for me.
Hmm.
But it's taken me that long. So I'm not surprised that my launch, you know, only brought in a couple people, and I'm fine with that because everything is a learning
Fair.
and those people will still show up and get a lot out of it. But I'm just curious, yeah, like what does that runway even look like? How long do you have to take time to nurture people, especially in this current course climate?
Yeah, there's always nurturing needed. I mean, the more focused and specific you are on the problem that you're fixing, the less nurturing you need to do.
Yeah.
Because if you're really, fixing someone wake up in the morning problem,
Yeah.
then you don't have to educate them. So that's kind of like a full circle of our discussion. You don't have to educate them on the need for ClickUp and setup, whatever. Like, hey, I see you're bleeding. I'm going to help you stop the bleeding. And this is how I'm going to do it. It's going to cost you this amount of money. It's going to take 6 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever. So that is important. At the same time, whenever you build something new, and it's very, very common. So a quick concept of sell before you build. You want to sell first before you build anything. And it's not about, for those, fraud investigators out there, it's not about scamming people. It's about selling an idea first and seeing if people want to buy it. Because if you have the skill to build something, you can already charge money for something and see if people vote with the credit cards. So this is where I had so many times in my life, and I've been in this space for quite some time, so many wait lists. And people were like, yeah, I want this when it's ready. I want this. I'm like, okay, then I build this. And you build this. They're like, well, maybe not now. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You told me a month ago. So I spent a month building this. And now you're like, not now? Yeah, Okay. So people vote with the credit cards, not with the email addresses, right? So that's an important concept in general, to sell before you build. And that goes for anything. Like I sold an idea of a 2025 consulting report. I had the data. I didn't write the report itself. I sold the idea on LinkedIn and it went viral. I had thousands of people request access to it and have 250,000 impressions of the post. I'm like, crap. Now I need to actually write the report.
Yeah.
Right? So I had the data. So I sold the idea and then I wrote a 70 pages report. It's not that I didn't want to. I couldn't, but I just didn't before I knew it's needed.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the overall concept. But you pass that because you build something and now you have to sell it. So we're in the kind of reverse situation. So you need to validate the angle. So you have the product, and then we have the product, and then you can wrap the product in different offers and different positioning. So now this is the game you're playing. How do I wrap it, in a nice wrapper that makes sense to people?
Yeah.
This is the positioning. This is the offer. This is the pricing. This is the angle. This is the niche. Like all that stuff you have to figure out. My recommendation for this is to talk to as many people as possible and see what resonates and what language they're using. So what I would do, I would go on LinkedIn, or LinkedIn because that's how we connected. Go on LinkedIn, you're making assumptions, find 10 marketing agencies, 10 senior freelancers, whatever that means, 10 people of other sort. And then talk to them like, hey, my name is Robyn, not selling anything. I'm just have a quick idea because I built this thing. Is this actually at all interesting?
Right.
And just have a conversation with them. That's how you validate the problem, the challenge.
Yeah.
And also you can see how complete your product is versus what they need and what kind of language they use. Let's say you pitch them with say, I build a system does that, this and that and that. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, okay, that didn't land.
Yeah.
Now, okay, that means this and that. They're like, oh, this is what you mean. I'm like, I need to use this when I talk to agencies. You
Yeah.
look at the common denominator.
Yeah.
So it's a LinkedIn DMs or in-person meetings. Content in general will help you as well, but content has a tendency to be like long-term solution. And you can ask people in content, raise their hands, do surveys, whatever, but it's kind of slow. So I like to compress the activities. And so you can finish conversations with your audience in a week. Have 30 conversations with 30 people, 10 representatives of each, and then you have like, okay, the three
Yeah.
different angles, different languages, different vocabulary. How do I marry them all? Do I go after this one, that one? Which one resonates with me? And that's so there's no time frame in like itself. I cannot tell you it's going to be 3 months or 6 months. I do have a productizing sprint program, which is a 3 months program, and within that program we validate. So it probably takes 6-ish weeks. Once you understand what you're selling, once you
Yeah.
identify the wake up in the morning problem, what is your solution, and then you go and validate around that. So, but don't feel like oh, he said 6 weeks and I've been on this since May. There's nothing wrong. It's just, you know what I mean? Don't take that way. But you just have to find the shortest path to
Hmm.
getting the feedback from the
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah. No, that's good feedback. And honestly, it's funny. I've been on LinkedIn probably I don't even know how long. And it's only just in the last little bit that I've been like, oh, I get it. I feel like I get what people like about this now. Like I connected with you. Like connecting with people on like a real, it feels the most genuine to any of the platforms
Yeah.
that I've been on. Like I guess Instagram is really the only other one that I've ever
Yeah.
been on to. And I don't know, it just feels like actual networking. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's very cool, and it's the only stalking platform that you actually have access to. Like officially, you can stalk people, right? Like no, literally, but like you connect with someone, and then you can see their profile. You can see what they commented on. You can see what they posted. You see
Yeah.
what they
True.
liked, and then you see their experience as well. And
Yeah.
then, but you go to Instagram and you see, Mikey621, and then like, who is
Yeah.
this guy? And then that person is a keyboard warrior hiding behind keyboard and nasty questions. And you know what I mean? Whereas on
True.
LinkedIn, that doesn't like, you still have some trolling, but it doesn't
Yeah.
happen that often. People would disagree, but they're respectfully disagreeing most of the time.
Sure. Yeah, because it's
And if,
professional.
yeah, you can still block them, but and they can block you. I sometimes get a middle finger, emoji when I talk to people on DMs, like, okay, I guess that was the bad time to talk to you. Ciao.
Oh
But
no.
it's part of it, I guess. It's part of building relationships with people, and I feel
Yeah.
LinkedIn is great for it because you can see
Yeah.
where that person works, what they do, what you have to offer is would be valuable to them, right? And that's how you
Yeah.
can go and search marketing agency, Ohio, marketing agency, Toronto, and just, hey,
Hmm.
Toronto, like you're in Ontario, right? So would be the easiest, just marketing agency Ontario, and just say, hey, I'm Robyn, I'm local here. I just built something for myself. I'm curious. Do you have 5 minutes? Blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
So when you say you're also from Ontario and you talk with them, it builds the
Right.
relevance point, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm happy to help, a neighbor.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think I've done something similar to that not like years ago. Did interviews and stuff, but now it feels a bit more concrete. And to run this idea through that lens is great. That's good feedback.
yeah,
And I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to just keep tweaking. It's like
that's the
it's
thing.
almost fun. You kind of have to like just keep it going. Nothing is a
Yeah.
failure. Just keep it going.
We
It's
either, yeah,
creativity being pressed to the limits, and I kind of like it. I don't mind it.
you're as weird as I am. Because we love that. That's the thing, you either win or learn. There's no failure in
Yeah,
this, right? It's
sure.
just we wanna win more often than we learn, I guess,
Yes,
so
that
that
would
we
be.
can put food on the table.
Hmm.
But yeah, any other questions I can help with?
No, I don't think so. I think you've given me, well, I mean, my one of my main goals is to grow my email list. So you just kind
Hmm.
of put a thought in my head, which maybe I could bring up, but like, I don't know about you, but I've created a lot of things over the years and then just like never did anything with them.
Hmm.
And one of those things I created was a very extensive like buyer's guide almost comparing the different because if you go on any sort of like Reddit thread or Facebook group or maybe even on LinkedIn where people are like, hey, what kind of project management tools do you use,
Yeah,
then you get the same sort of like key players that get mentioned and everybody's like this one, but everybody seems to have a different opinion, and it's like, well, why? What are the reasons that some people love Asana and some people like love Notion but hate Asana? Like, so I kind of did a deep dive into that and I took quotes and I analyzed it and I came up
wow,
with essentially categories for based on where you are in your business, what makes the most sense.
that's
So anyway,
fantastic.
it's like a very elaborate guide and I'm wondering if that could be a good
That's a
um
fantastic tool. That's a fantastic asset. Yeah.
You think so? Would people be
Yeah.
interested in that is the question. Is that something somebody be like, oh, I really actually do want to know what that has to say?
Yeah, I mean, the way you'll have a recording to this, the way you explain this, I would just record this or actually cut this and put it on LinkedIn and say, I have this thing. Like,
Mm,
I know you guys are confused because I know what you mean. Like, yeah, there's so many options. The same way you buy any tool or any equipment, like a microphone. Like, some people love this microphone, the other
yeah.
person's like, no,
Yeah.
it's a piece of shit. Like, what? This guy said
Right.
it's amazing. So at least at some point you have to just close your eyes and just make a decision.
Yes.
But sometimes it's easy to say, but then you end up with a tool and you migrate your whole business into a tool. Then like, oh my god, this was just the worst idea because
Yeah.
it's that it was great for that person for their kind of specifications and need, but it's terrible for us.
Yeah.
And so I can literally feel this pain in my bones. And so I'm sure I'm not alone because anyone who ever tried to kind of migrate to another like or choose a tool, very
Yeah.
very overwhelmed. So I think that would, again, what I think doesn't matter. What matters is what the audience thinks, right?
Exactly.
But it sounds like a cool lead magnet, something
Yeah.
that you could really kind of put on LinkedIn, put it in your feature section, like which tool to choose, what's the best tool for you,
Hmm.
quiz, whatever, and
Yeah.
then a guide. And then if it's ClickUp, then like, hello, funny,
Right.
right? If you need help with ClickUp, here I am.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's great. And then LinkedIn. I don't know if you're aware of or familiar with the hand raising post on LinkedIn. So basically, a post where you say, "Hey, I did this, da 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 da. Do you want this comment below?" And people raising their hands as in like commenting, like, "Hey, I want this." Those
Mm.
type of posts have been working really well. They're pretty annoying these days because everyone's doing them.
Okay.
But you could also do this one of those annoying posts when you say, "Hey, I have this comprehensive guide. If you ever were trying to figure out like what is the best tool for your situation, your
Yeah.
business, comment below. I'll send you the guide. It's 55 pages long, whatever." And so, or you can create an app or a tool or
Yeah.
ChatGPT or yeah, you could even
Yeah.
do that these days, right?
A quiz. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. I like it. It's already sort of on my radar for what I'm going to do when we get back from being away.
Yeah,
Because you can only focus on so many things at one time. Like you just can't
exactly,
do it all. So you just have to be
exactly,
really intentional about what you do focus on.
100%. Robyn, thank you so much. This was a pleasure. We'll be in touch. I hope I helped you at least a little bit with some insights, and
Yeah.
wishing you all the best. And please feel free to reach out. And yeah, and if you know anyone else who would be benefiting from a session like this, please send them my way. That would be
Cool.
fantastic.
All right. Yeah. Thanks so much for your time, Mike. I appreciate it.
All the best, Robyn.
All right. Bye.